Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? I am so excited for this video because we're going to be talking about Danessa Myricks Beauty, which is an amazing, glowy, Black-owned indie makeup brand with phenomenal products. If you're not familiar with Danessa Myricks, you are definitely missing out because her work is phenomenal. I'm going to leave her Instagram page here so you can see. She is a makeup artist and a photographer. She just has the most glowy, beautiful, ethereal skin. Like, I would love to shadow her for a day, even though I'm not a makeup artist. I would just be like, how do I get this glow? Before we jump in, I just want to say, hi, my name is Amy. I love indie makeup and talking about small brands, underrated brands, brands that just don't get enough love. So if that sounds like content you're interested in, definitely don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now let's jump right on into the full face review. All right, so jumping right on in, the first thing I want to talk about is the Danessa Myricks Beauty Prism FX Hydrating Lotion. This is a primer. It's available in two shades, I believe. There's this one, which is kind of like a white iridescent pinky toned one, and then there's also a peach toned shade as well. And if you haven't watched my videos before, I've been talking about this a lot recently because it is absolutely a favorite. I normally just go in with one pump. I mean, it's great packaging. I love a good pump. There is only half an ounce here, or 0.53 fluid ounces to be correct, that extra 0.03 if you care. So it's a little bit smaller than the average 1 ounce primer, but I really, really love the finish, and I feel like one pump is all you need. So I normally just blend it in. It does have a little bit of a sweet fragrance to it, and it has very much like a lotion-y feel to it. It's not super silicone-y, it's not super thick, and you can see immediately it just gives such a beautiful glow to the skin. And I've tried this with a bunch of different foundations at this point. I haven't had issues with a single foundation, so I really, really love this primer. And if you are in the market for a glowy primer, I think it's really, really nice. I feel it really shows through foundation as well, because some primers, it's like, oh, it's glowy, but then you put a foundation on over top and it's like you can't really see what the primer did. But with this, I feel like it really does transform my foundations. And next we have the Vision Cream Cover, and this one specifically is the Perfecting and Shaping Wand. So if you're not familiar, she has a foundation line, and it's available in a foundation bottle, which I think kind of looks similar to this. It's a pump bottle. I think it might be $28 or something like that. And every single shade in that foundation, like the shade and the formula, is the exact same thing, but in a different container for the concealer. So if you were looking to buy it, you don't need to buy the foundation and the concealer unless you specifically want to have separate packaging for both. I ended up grabbing the concealer because it was a little bit cheaper, and I wasn't sure if the color was going to work for me. I wasn't sure if I was going to like the formula. So even though this is a lot less product and the foundation is a lot more bang for your buck, I decided to try this. And overall, I don't really love the packaging. I thought it would be convenient to just be able to swipe some foundation on, but I don't really love doing that. I definitely think I would have preferred the pump now, having used a product like this, but I'm not mad at it because I'm glad I got to give it a chance. And the color on this is practically perfect for me. So if you have super fair skin, this is a very, very fair neutral shade. Highly impressed by it, because sometimes when I buy from brands and they're specifically geared towards deeper skin tones, I don't expect there to be a fair shade for me, just because that's obviously not their focus. When I purchased this and I was kind of like, oh, maybe it'll work for me, and then I got it and it was so fair and just matched my skin so amazingly. I was definitely really shocked. I don't know if I said it or not, but I have the shade N01. It's kind of annoying because you do have to click it, and sometimes it seems like product wants to come up, sometimes it doesn't. This is definitely more of a full coverage foundation. I definitely suggest going in with less instead of going in with a ton, at least the first time, because the coverage is really, really good. But because of the way I'm applying it, and it's these like little streaks, and because it's a fuller coverage foundation, I've tried a bunch of different foundation brushes with it, and the only thing I really like is denser brushes. So I really like this Pinnacle foundation brush from Danessa Beauty, or the Real Technique sculpting brush. There's a Tarte one, which is really good as well. So anything that's just like a really dense foundation brush, because I've tried it a few different ways and this is just the best to me. And you can see coverage is really, really good, and the color is just so good for me. I find myself enjoying this foundation but I wouldn't say it's an absolute favorite foundation because I personally prefer a lighter, more glowy coverage, and this is super full coverage in my opinion. I've heard that Danessa likes to mix this and she mixes it with the primer. I'm not really a mixer, I'm pretty basic, so I could see how this could be really, really good and how you could manipulate it a lot and you could do super full coverage, or you could add a moisturizer and get it to be a little bit more diluted, and you could add the glowy primer, whatnot. So I can see why this would be a good foundation for a lot of people. If you do like full coverage foundations, I think it looks really good on the skin. I don't know if you can tell, I just don't think, I mean, you can see I've got texture going on, but it just doesn't look super cakey like some foundations will, or clingy, or anything like that. And I've also found that it looks pretty decent throughout the day. It's not my favorite look because, again, I feel like full coverage, it's always going to be just a little bit cakey if we're being honest, because you're putting a layer on your skin, a thick layer. But I think it looks good throughout the day. I haven't had any issues with wear time or anything like that. It might get a little bit dry on my nose, but that's my driest area on my face. And if you are curious, I do have dry skin. And then, as I said, you can use it as a concealer as well, which I'm going to do today just to show you, but I don't super love this as a concealer. So you can add just a little bit underneath your eyes, and I've tried it like this where I'm using it as a foundation and the concealer. I've used it with other foundations and then used this as the concealer, and it's just a little bit too much for me. I feel like it can get a little bit cakey. It's just too much coverage, and it just doesn't look the absolute best underneath the eyes for my skin personally. I'm just blending that in with the Danessa Beauty angled concealer brush. You can see, I mean, it looks super full coverage. All right, so next I have the Evolution powder, which has 11 grams of product, which again is not ginormous. It is pretty interesting considering Danessa Myricks is a makeup artist, and a lot of makeup artists do makeup products that are specifically for a makeup kit, which is when having more product is beneficial, because if you're doing 30 faces in a day, you're gonna run through this powder so fast. Whereas if you're doing one face a day, it'll last a good amount of time. So for me, this is fine, but I just think it's interesting. So this is the shade 01, which I believe is the translucent shade, and I really love the packaging of this. If you can see, it has a little sifter, it has a little net, and it's just like a no mess kind of loose powder, which I really appreciate. Okay, so I'm gonna go into just a little bit of product on a small tapered powder brush and set underneath my eyes right here. I pretty much always set underneath my eyes. I don't necessarily always set my entire face. I don't love how these two look together because I feel like they kind of just cake up. I've used this with a lot of other products, and I feel like overall it's an okay powder. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It sets the face, and it's not terrible, but it doesn't do anything amazing for me. It's just like, it's a powder, it's there kind of feeling. So I mean, I could keep using it. I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit for my forehead just because I've got some texture going on. So I can keep using it and I don't mind it at all, but I don't think I would repurchase it. I have powders that I like more than it. I think where this powder would stand out is that it does have a really good shade range. So if you're having trouble trying to find a loose powder in a shade that really fits your skin tone, then they have a bunch of options, so it'd be worth looking into it. That would be something that would make it more unique. But as far as just being a translucent powder, I have other things that I prefer. So next is a Vision Flush, and this is a liquid blush, and the shade that I have is Ballet Slippers. It has 0.21 ounces. This is the lightest shade I believe they have. It looked on the website to be a soft pink, but it's actually a little bit more of a neutral kind of pinky peachy shade with a lot of depth to it. And if you're looking to own one liquid blush shade for the rest of your life and not have to repurchase it, I would recommend this one because it is so pigmented. It is crazy. I definitely made the mistake because, okay, you twist it up and it's kind of funny because it looks like a lip product, and this is actually, I believe it's advertised to be able to be used on the cheeks or on the lips, so I'll show that to you in a little bit. As a blush, I made the mistake of doing a little dot and a little dot, and then it's like, that's a lot of pigmentation, and I'm like blending it like crazy, and it's a lot. I'll show you a little demo if I just do one dot on my hand, which is what I did on my cheeks. See how pigmented that is? I mean, it blends out well. It's a beautiful color. It has a little bit of a glossy finish, but it gets pretty pigmented and all over really, really fast. So that's something I would definitely recommend to keep in mind with this. And if you are looking into the other shades and you do have more of a fair light skin tone, again, something I would keep in mind because you're going to have to be really, really careful with this. But also at the other end of it, if you do have a deep skin tone, I think that these could be really nice because you wouldn't have to build up layers and layers of blush for it to show up on your cheeks because they're super, super pigmented. The way that I've found that I like to do it, instead of putting it on my cheeks directly and then blending it out, is I like to put it on the back of my hand. Sometimes I'll kind of warm it into my hand and I'll use my fingers and just do like the two-finger method and kind of dot it on and blend it out. And then sometimes I'll use a sponge. Forever wetting my sponge with setting spray because I'm so lazy. Go in with my sponge, just pick up a bit. Again, gotta be careful because it's still pretty pigmented. And then just blend that in. I mean, I think it's a beautiful color. It's like a very natural flushing shade for me. Has a soft glow to it. I do like this cream blush. Don't have a bronzer. They do have a bronzer, but they only had 3 shades. And I just didn't think the lightest one was really something I would get a lot of use out of. So I'm going to casually just bronze my face with blush. So please don't judge me. I feel like it's all the trend now to put blush on your nose. And I remember always when I was growing up watching my mom do her makeup and she would put blush on her nose. That was like her final step. So for my eyes, I do actually have a Danessa Myricks product, which I haven't mentioned on my channel yet. And I grabbed this on Beautylish when I finally got a notification that it was back in stock because I've had the notification on for this for forever. This is the Danessa Myricks Color Fix Invisible Eyeshadow Base. Here's what it looks like, and it is an invisible eyeshadow base. I have to say that it's a good eyeshadow primer, but it's not perfect for me. First problem is that the container is so small, I like literally can't even get my fingers in there to pick up any product without scraping my fingernails in it. So I don't really love that, and I don't like using my fingers with this just because I feel like I can't get the product out. So I have to use a brush, which for me is a con because I feel like eyeshadow primer, it would have been so nice if this was just a little bit larger. You could stick your finger in, do a little and be done. I like using the Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush because it's the perfect size to get in there, pick up some product, and go ahead and put it on the eye. So I feel like this is my little match made in heaven, but I lose things constantly. So like that's another part of me not liking having to have a brush because I love this brush with it, but who knows if I'm going to be able to find it every single day. Probably not. But like I said, it is a good eyeshadow primer because I actually do really like the formula of it. It is just a clear eyeshadow primer, so there's no color. If you have a lot of discoloration or veins in your eyes, you might not like this product. But if you don't really have anything to cover up, you might like it because it's super thin. And I just haven't had any issues with any of the eyeshadows that I've used on top of it. And the verdict on this one is I'll keep using it, but I wouldn't necessarily repurchase it just because I have other primers that I like more. Just to show you the eyeshadow primer in action, I thought I would do like a 2-minute eye look, and I'm going to use the Solo Look Charm palette, and I think I'm just going to use like 3 shades. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with this color right here called Page, which is kind of like a peachy soft coral, and just throw that through my crease. Also going to go ahead and take that shade along my lower lash line. I'm going to go ahead and take the shade Phoebe on my finger. Press that all over the lid. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and throw on some liner and some mascara really quickly, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so next I have 2 different highlighter formulas from Danessa Myricks to talk about. So first is the Dew Wet Balm, and I grabbed the shade Clear. I can never open anything, I swear. So this one makes me laugh because I like to make the joke that I already can see the pan in this. I'm sorry, is that old yet? I really love this product, and not even necessarily because it's like a highlighter. I just think it has a really special place in my makeup collection because what I like to use this for is to put it over other products that are powder, and it kind of melts them down and it gives your entire cheek a cream product look. So I think this is an amazing, amazing product for someone who's getting into cream products and you have a ton of powder products already and you're like, oh, I need a pink cream blush and I need a purple cream blush and I need a peach cream blush and an orange cream blush. But if you already have those shades in powder blush form and you get this, I feel like you can just like kind of, you know, do the whole thing, put your fingers in there, tap it over, and it automatically makes the powder product look cream. So I really love this. Sometimes I just put it over the highlighter, sometimes I'll put it over my entire cheek, sometimes I'll get crazy and I'll put it into this area here, which is like a area that I feel like people get oily at, and I just love the look. I know, I'll put it all over my nose. I just love to look like I have oily skin because I have such dry skin. I want to glow as much as possible, and this is such a natural glow. You could literally put it all over your face if you wanted to, and I feel like it doesn't really mess with the texture of whatever you're putting it over. Like when I put it over like concealer and stuff, like it doesn't look weird. So I love this. If you're just using it as a balm and you're not really using it to put over other things, like for example right now I don't have any powder products on my cheeks, so I can show you what it looks like on one side. I'll tap it on, and I mean it adds a little bit of a soft glow, but I don't really feel like it looks magical. It's just like, oh, there's a little glow there. It's cute, but it's nothing super crazy. So using it on its own like that, it's not super special to me. I feel like there's a lot of cream highlighters that could kind of give that look, but the transformative factor is what I love about this the most. So I'm going to show you that in just a moment. So next I want to talk about the Enlight highlighter, which is a loose highlighter. I have the shade Aura of Light. Aura. There's a lot of product here actually. I feel like this would take a while to go through. I believe this is one of the lightest shades. It's just a very true light kind of white highlighter. This is super similar to Ofra Cosmetics Glazed Donut. I can actually swatch that next to this in just a moment. I really like this because it is super, super blinding on the skin. The first time I tried it, I was just like shocked at how beautiful and blinding it is. It's probably one of the most blinding highlights ever. And in contrast to the Ofra one, I love Glazed Donut so much. But this being a loose highlighter formula, I feel like that makes it even more blinding. I have a bunch of different highlighter brushes that I use all the time. Sometimes I'll use something bigger like this. Sometimes I'll use something fluffy like this and really work it in. But for this highlighter, I prefer something a little bit more dense and a little bit smaller. I've really been liking this Linda Hallberg all over face brush, I think is what it's called, for a loose highlighter, just because I feel like it gets the product exactly where I want it to go. And also there is a little sifter in here that kind of opens and closes, so I do appreciate that. I don't think I have any other loose highlighter that has like a close open option, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick up a bit of product. Definitely tap off the excess because it's going to be pretty intense. Do you see that? Crazy. So I just kind of add it and then blend it out. Normally I blend between both of my cheeks, so I have a lot of product actually, but you can see it is crazy blinding. You can go in with way less product if you want to. You can definitely really go there with this highlighter. Like, look at that. So I haven't tried the Dew Balm as a base, so I'm kind of curious to put this highlighter over the other side and just see what it looks like. Oh, see, I don't think I like that. It's just really sticky, so it kind of looks funny. Let me see if I can blend it in a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't use it like that. That highlighter is absolutely beautiful. Definitely makes me tempted to get other colors. And then I also like to use that on my inner corner sometimes too. So I'm just going to take my little pencil brush, dip it in, tap off the excess. And you can see it just looks really beautiful. Okay, so here is Ofra Glazed Donut, which if you're not familiar with it, here's what it looks like. You can tell I love this highlighter. So don't mind my chipped little nail, but there is Ofra Glazed Donut, and there's Danessa Myricks Aura of Light. Okay, so let me show you what this Dew Balm can do. Get it? Dew Balm can do. The way I like to use it personally is just taking 2 fingers, getting a good amount of product. You could probably use a sponge if you wanted to, but I just feel like this method works for me, so why fix something that's not broken? And then I just go ahead and just tap it into my skin. You see that? You can still see it's a beautiful highlight, but this just gives it that cream product look. It just melts it into the skin. So beautiful. And just to show you further, do it on the nose, the entire nose, even the sides of the nose, because I love that look. Do it on the chin, Like, it just adds the prettiest glow to everything. Or you could be like me and add it right here as well. I feel very healthy. It's a healthy glow. So I just love this so much. I highly recommend it if you are into this kind of look like I am. All right, last but not least, let's revisit the Vision Flush. So like I said, I believe I saw somewhere you can use it for the lips, so I tried it for the lips, of course. And I will say I like it in one way and I don't like it in another. So if I go ahead and I take just a tiny, tiny little bit of this, I don't use the wand or anything, I just take a little tap of my finger, I'll kind of just dab it on. And I feel like it adds just a little bit of color to my lips. It kind of matches the blush. It looks pretty. It's very much a like my lips but better kind of thing. Just a little bit. I could see adding a gloss over this and it's pretty. You can also use it on its own, like with the wand, and do a full opaque layer, but I don't love it. So we'll do it. That's just like a little rough sketch there. The color is pretty. The glossiness is pretty. I feel like I can taste it on my lips a little bit. The thing I really don't like about it is just the consistency. It just feels like whenever, I don't know if you remember, when liquid lipsticks first came out, there was like a wave of matte liquid lipsticks, and then right after that there was a wave of like these like liquid lipsticks, but they didn't actually dry down and they were just super satin and glossy and they got everywhere, and it was like a liquid lipstick but it didn't have any of the purposes of actually being a liquid lipstick. It was just kind of annoying and messy, and that's what this feels like on the lips. It doesn't leave the color on the lips because when I wipe it off it's still just like my natural lip color, so it's not even like oh I have this on and it'll wear off and it'll leave a color behind. It doesn't do that. So I don't super love it just because I don't like the consistency. I originally bought it just as a blush and I was like, oh, I guess I'll try it for the lips, whatever. And it's okay. It's fine. I definitely prefer it as blush. Just to be super honest and up close, I'm going to get real close to the camera so you can see. Oh, I did that. So you can see what my face looks like. Okay, so that is everything for today's review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.